everyone, welcome to John's Briefs, here again with Tim Forshee of Forshee Law, our pro tem judge, as well as criminal defense expert attorney. I added expert there too.
Wow,
you can put that on your business card.
What happened to extraordinaire?
Expert, attorney, extraordinaire.
Always throw French in when you can,
there you
right?
go.
Yeah.
And I want to talk today on John's Briefs about when a threat rises from the level of ordinary to deadly, because it's not as clear as you think.
That's right.
To win the fight after the fight, you need help. After a use of force, I trust Firearms Legal Protection to help me win the fight for the rest of my life. From their 24/7 attorney-answered hotline to coverage for the use of all legal tools, Firearms Legal Protection has you covered. Get a discount by signing up at the link below.
Now, here's the funny part on this, Tim, that when somebody says, okay, wait a minute, it's very clear when the threat is deadly versus not. Yeah,
Not
it is
always.
until it's not.
Yeah.
That's like saying, okay, so does Tim have a beard? No. Does John have a beard? Yes. Okay, so these are very clear. But what about, like, at the end of the day, you're going to have 5 o'clock shadow. Do you have a beard there?
Yeah.
Or what if you don't shave in the morning?
It's that lovely gray area
Yes.
that always permeates almost every facet of the law. Yeah.
So we had a case, a video that we did on the badge cams on the main channel that was an officer off duty, an out-of-state officer as well, who was carrying under Leosa, was at the bar at 3 o'clock in the morning, ends up getting in an argument with 3 dudes, and then ends up pulling his gun when those 3 dudes start beating tar out of him.
Yep.
And then he gets some shots off. Some on-duty cops see what's going on and end up shooting him.
I was going to say, this was a typical, the blue on green situation that, yeah.
And I think kind of at the end of the day, I think everyone was justified in the defensive deadly force issue, but there's also the rules of stupid issue to talk about. But Tim, do you have a general idea of when does a threat rise from physical to deadly?
Well, a lot of it is what we call disparity of force, which you and Mike touched on in the video really well, by the way, I thought. I guess a classic example would be the very, very misunderstood George Zimmerman case with Trayvon Martin. Everybody says, well, clearly this guy was a racist. He was stalking this guy, and he was, there's no reason in the world he should have shot him. I mean, we could go into the George Zimmerman's ill-advised following a stranger through the neighborhood. And I'm not saying George Zimmerman showed the best discretion there, but at the moment he pulled the trigger, was he reasonably in fear for his life? Well, there's a much younger, larger, stronger guy straddling his body, slamming his head to the pavement by the ears, and I think he needed over 30 stitches to close the wounds. So at what point does that go from I'm in a tussle,
right,
and I might get a bloody nose, to oh my God, this guy's about to kill me?
Yeah.
And of course the problem is, once that realization sits in, you might have mere seconds to change the dynamic before you are in fact dead.
And by the way, if you can go back, it's on the internet, and watch the Zimmerman trial.
Yes.
Now, you ain't got that much time.
Yeah.
But if you did, it's ridiculously clear. He should have won his immunity.
He should have never been charged. And of course, it wasn't originally charged. It was only until NBC News manufactured a fake video that ended up resulting in a defamation settlement that a special prosecutor was appointed because of the political pressure. That case should have never been prosecuted.
Never should have.
But again, the misunderstanding and the misreporting of that case, people still to this day say that was ridiculous, that was murder, he was not in fear for his life. So he had 30 stitches, so what? How many bangs on the sidewalk before I'm not able to keep the guy from taking my gun and killing me with it? How many bangs on the sidewalk before my brain starts coming out of my ear? I mean, at some point that goes from a scuffle to, oh my God, I'm about to die. And when I said disparity of force, the larger the guy is than me, the disparity in size, strength, age, gender, all the numbers, and that's what we saw in this case was 3 against 1. When you start seeing disparity of force, it becomes an easier argument to make. It becomes an easier argument for a jury or a prosecutor to accept. One-on-one, I'm younger, bigger, stronger. I'm a guy. There's a 140-pound woman, that's threatening me with no weapon in her hands. It's gonna be pretty tough, I think, to show that I'm in fear for my life. But reverse all of that, and now it's the 140-pound woman with a gun who's being threatened by me. It's going to be a lot easier. And of course, there's no algebraic equation for any of this. It's all going to be a gray analysis.
Yeah.
But the more ammo you have on your side, the more likely you are to win the argument.
So I think obviously, 3 people attacking you. What would a normal person of ordinary ability and ordinary understanding fear that 3 men beating him was going to put him in the hospital?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I think it's, if you're a male, and this is sexist, so ladies, I apologize in advance, but again, the average male has more muscle mass and more strength than the average female.
Yep.
I've met many females who could kick the living snot out of me easily. That's not my point at all, but we're not looking at the edges of the bell curve, we're looking at the center of the bell
Right.
curve. So the argument that I've heard from expert witnesses is that 2-on-1 for a woman, 3-on-1 for a male. And
So-
obviously anything that exceeds that's going to make the argument easier.
And listen, I think that as a general rule, what I say, and you're not going to find this in a statute, right?
No.
But what I generally say, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, I don't know how to run it by him, is that 2 factors of disparity are generally safe. So, okay, I'm fighting someone, he's bigger than me. Okay, well, that's one factor, he's bigger than you, but you're probably not going to be okay shooting that guy. Now, if you go, he's bigger than me, and I'm much older and frail.
Right.
Now I have 2 factors of disparity.
Or if I'm a female and he's much bigger
so
than me.
if I'm a female, a man attacking me is bigger than me and stronger than me. I got 2 factors
Right.
of disparity. If I've got 2 men attacking me and I have and I get in a compromised position, so 2 men attacking a man,
You're on your back.
and then all of a sudden I get knocked over on the ground and I'm on my back. Okay, you've got 2 factors there. I'm immobile. And they have numbers.
And again, not to be the George Zimmerman fan club today, but he had multiple for those types of reasons.
Once you start hitting somebody's head on the concrete, you're using the concrete as a deadly weapon.
Yeah.
Now he's attacking me with a weapon highly likely to put me in the hospital. He's beating my head into the concrete.
I always think of an example I had in a class, gosh, probably at least a decade ago. I had a young lady in my class, and we were talking about disparity of force. We were having this very conversation in my class. And she kind of raised her hand sort of sheepishly. She said, Mr. Forshey, I've got to be honest, if I'm walking out of a Circle K and you're walking into the Circle K and you're walking directly towards me, I'm probably going to shoot you because I'm in fear for my life. You're a really big guy. And I was like, ma'am, on behalf of all large fat guys worldwide, could you please rethink that just a little bit? And so, I mean, you can't take it to the logical extreme or you're going to go around murdering half the people you see. But
another one I see all the time is kicking a downed opponent with a shod foot.
Yep.
So shod, this is a technical phrase. You got a shoe on.
I don't know if I ever told you, but I was a farrier for about 15 years.
That's right, you were.
I did a lot of shodding.
You did. A farrier does that.
Freshly shod horses, yeah.
So again, if somebody with a shoe on kicks you while you're standing, that's one thing. But if you are grounded, if you are downed, and they kick you with a shod foot, that is highly likely to do you permanent disfigurement.
In fact, a lot of people don't know, but more people in this country are killed every year by fists and feet than by rifles.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
So these are the kind of things that can give you an argument that I did indeed fear for my life, and I had good reason to fear.
Correct.
So when we talk about being reasonable, right, it's kind of funny that as the expert, right? So when I show up in court as the expert, I can't use that word.
Yeah.
Because it's not my word, it's the jury's job.
It's the jury's word to decide,
It's the jury's job to decide if it was reasonable. So I use words like, would an ordinary person of ordinary ability and ordinary faculty, would they perceive that way? Would we expect them to? Right? Or would we understand if they did? All those words to say, is this reasonable?
As an expert, folks, you try to say whatever you can get away with saying.
Yeah.
Right?
And
if they don't object, pour on the coal.
Right, yeah. And so, again, you can just say, that's that South Park thing, Well, we're not allowed to shoot the deer, so we say, he's coming right at us, and then we can shoot it, you know what I mean? No, that's stupid. That's not going to work.
Right.
But instead, I use the example of the granny, who's got a knife, but she's got a walker, and she's 87 years old, and I'm going to cut you, boy. I'm gonna cut your heart out and eat it. And she's coming your way, and you're like, oh, no, she's coming right at me, and I draw a gun, and I shoot Granny. I'm going to go to prison for that. Because again, well, wait a minute, she had a knife and I didn't. Yeah, but the disparity of ability is so vast.
And that, again, the 3 parts of lethal force, the 3 requirements before you can use lethal force to break it down in a generally acceptable manner is threat, ability, and opportunity. And clearly she's threatening you. She has a knife. She's telling you she's going to cut your heart out and eat it. Does she have the ability? Well, I don't know that she could actually use a fork from what I'm seeing here.
Right. So
and how about imminent? It's going to take her 27 minutes to cover the 5 yards. So
she has the ability because she's got a knife.
Yep.
She has the manifested intent. She has told me.
Yep.
But does she have the opportunity? No, she can't touch me because she's on with a walker and can't close the distance.
And you could probably run faster than she can use her walker. So.
Well, if you go, all right, I'm going to stand my ground until she gets here. Come on,
you don't have to run when she's coming with her walker, but again, why wouldn't you?
Person. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? It's not can, it should. Yeah.
So again, what would a reasonable person do in that case? If you have 2 factors of disparity, and I'm not saying you have to go 1, 2, you don't. But again, at the end of the day, is this likely to put me in the hospital?
Right.
You know, a one-on-one fight between two able-bodied men, probably not. But a man balling up his fist on a woman, yeah, it's highly likely to put her in the hospital.
And this is pretty universal. We have a statute in Arizona. I think most other states do too. Don't forget one last thing. If you start the fight, you cannot legally end the fight. So I don't know what precipitated this. First of all, an off-duty cop with his girl at, going into bars at 3 o'clock in the morning while armed. I mean, maybe he's drinking ginger ale, but I think the ginger ale hour ran out a couple hours ago.
Probably.
So I'm not really sure about the judgment. Again, you and Mike did a great job of breaking all that stuff down. But again, if he started the fight, if he pushed somebody in that bar, if he insulted somebody, and there's a way to prove that, if he started the fight, man, he's got a giant uphill battle now. There's a very strong chance that he won't have a defense available. He'll be done.
And so, big thing that I want you to recognize, remember, when you pull a firearm, you are altering the rest of your life.
Yep.
It's the worst day of your life. You should expect to be incarcerated that day. You should expect to face charges. Yep. Now, hopefully, if you did the right thing and there was disparity of force, the prosecutor looks at it and says, nah, that was justified conduct. Have a nice day. Or you hire a great attorney. The attorney makes a great argument, gets it dismissed pre-trial, or ends up being exonerated in court. Just want you to recognize the only reason you use the firearm, though, is the consequences of not using the firearm are so bad you can't live with
If
them.
you shoot somebody in self-defense and it's completely justifiable, there are still only two things on the planet Earth that are worse than that. Okay, one is getting killed, and the other is being found wrong and going to prison. But other than those two worst-case scenarios, it's going to be the worst day of your life.
Yeah.
And it will also. I mean, again, I've had numerous clients commit suicide out of the Cain versus Abel anguish of this stuff. It's life-altering. So why would you ever choose to do it? Yeah.
So I want you, if you face that real disparity and you really earnestly believe with reasonable evidence that you're going to die or go, be disfigured, if you don't use deadly force, then by all means, I want you to use it because I don't want you to die. I don't want you to be permanently disfigured. I don't want you to have, a prolonged hospital stay and lose your cognitive abilities or those things. All those things are at stake. By all means, do so. But if not, I want you to think and go, nope. That's why I have something between a harsh word and a gun, And
I would like to clarify one thing that's, I think, a little bit misunderstood out there. All the statutes will say if you're in imminent fear of death or grave bodily injury.
Yes.
And if you think about it, folks, that grave bodily injury is tacked on there by lawyers who want to be able to defend their client when they weren't killed, but they were gravely injured. You are never going to be proactively at the scene of the incident where you're fighting for your life. You're never going to say, holy crap, this guy with this axe is about to kill me, or, perhaps he might cut off one of my fingers, period. You're not going to say that. So it's never ever going to help us proactively to throw in the grave bodily injury thing. It just muddies your brain. Holy crap, this guy's about to kill me.
Yeah.
That's what you should be focusing on, not this other stuff. That other stuff is jury instructions for lawyers to worry about 15 months from now.
Yeah, and I mean,
in my opinion.
Exactly. And listen, oh my God, if you hit me with that baseball bat, it could easily have killed me.
Or, I could be in a coma. And lose my house.
Now, included in that is it highly likely that it would kill me? No, because I'm going to defend myself, but in putting my hand up, it's probably going to break my arm, and that's going to put me in the hospital for several days, and that's going to lead to a loss of use of my limb for a couple of months, and that meets the standard of grave bodily injury. Right. The lawyers are going to argue about that later. When it comes to numbers, when it comes to, wait a minute, he was a karate master, a karate master, okay, if you knew that ahead of time, if you didn't know that, it doesn't go into your understanding at all. I'm frail. I have my own medical frailty, and I have pins in my neck. And my doctor told me if I fall off a ladder, I'll die. Yeah. And so him hitting me in the face, I'm gonna die. Okay, that adds to that idea that you have a particular reason. One other one we do see quite a bit. I know a lot of states, they define a particular age at which you are elderly. And therefore, any assault on you is considered an aggravated assault and highly likely to lead to great.
We have that in Arizona, and it's, I believe, age 75.
75 in Arizona. Mm-hmm. New York is 65, and Florida is 65.
But in fairness, you age a lot faster than those places.
It's true. Arizona,
especially New York,
the dry air keeps everything good. So just be cautious with that. Man, Tim, this went into a lot of directions I wasn't expecting. I want you guys to know we just have talks. There's no script here, so we just talk.
It's totally interview by ambush, which is fun. Scary, but fun.
Hope it helps you guys.
Thanks a lot.